out. We are going to start the next session, an SEO deep dive, enhance your Bubble app's search rank. This will be done by our wonderful Bubble educator and founder of BuildCamp, Gregory John.
Thanks. I'd like to ask you a question, and I want you to be super honest with me. I'd like to see a show of hands for who deeply cares and spends a lot of time and effort in SEO today. Show of hands. 2 or 3. Good. I've got my work cut out for me. Because personally, I love SEO. And to give you an analogy, having a well-optimized and high-ranking app and your pages, that's like having a store here in New York on the high street. Traffic is super high and consistent. My favorite thing about SEO is that traffic is free and it compounds. And once you start to rank, you tend to maintain those positions and get a lot of business. Let's go back to basics. Let's talk about what SEO is, because SEO has been around for as long as Google's been around. And when I talk about search engines today, I'll be probably just mentioning Google, because it's ubiquitous with search. So search engine optimization, okay? Let's turn that around a little bit. What about optimizing the search? Google's placing a lot more emphasis on the user experience. So we could say that we're now optimizing for search and the end user. And you guys might say to me, well, Greg, tried SEO, didn't work. Or in my industry, I can't compete with these huge sites that have been doing SEO for 10 years. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to stick to social. And you should. You should also have a social strategy in place. But guys, I have good news for you today. Because in August, something quite big happened. It may have flown under the radar if you're not actively looking at this kind of stuff. Google updated their algorithm, their search algorithm. Very big update. And it's an update that boosts visibility for high-quality, user-focused content from smaller sites. And this algorithm change is now going to start demoting the big players that use keyword stuffing and just sort of competitive techniques. We're in business, guys. We're in business. SEO is cool again. Now, some of you might be thinking, you know, what about AI? I just wanted to show you the current market with Google. And Google has its own AI tooling that it's releasing. You might have seen some AI search results coming up. If you guys use Perplexity, or you haven't used Perplexity, which is maybe a micro version of Google trying to solve search with AI-generated content, or AI receiving content and then generating sort of better responses, you should use Perplexity. SEO is here, and SEO is going to remain, okay? Because these AI models, they're looking at the same factors for generating their results. So if you do a search in Perplexity, Perplexity will tell you and list the sources and the citations from where they generated that content from. So well-optimized websites and apps and pages will always be relevant, because at the end of the day, it's really what the user wants as well. Google wants a good end user experience. And if you can produce that through techniques I'm about to demonstrate, they will start to promote you. So what we can deduce is that with AI growing, search will change slightly, but there always needs to be a source of information. That information will still come from your pages. So how do we do SEO, right? How do we actually employ this thing, this black hat magic that we don't like to even think about? We will blame, we'll give reasons that our competitors are too far ahead, or Bubble doesn't give us the right tools. I've heard all of these excuses. So you can break it down into these 5 core areas. Keyword search, okay? So understanding what your potential customers, or understanding what users are searching for. User intent has to start there. I wouldn't be up here talking to an empty room. What I prefer not to be. There is demand. Content creation. We need to produce content that answers or solves what users are looking for. We can do that. All of us in this room can do that. We've got link building, which we'll talk about, so backlinks. So how do we gain authority by earning backlinks? And I'll talk about some strategies about earning backlinks. We've got on-page SEO. This is more sort of user-focused stuff, making sure that your content is clear, concise, readable, good user experience. We have technical SEO as well, which we're going to dive into. So this is more optimized for the back-end elements to enable Google to crawl, assess the content, index your site, and rank your pages. So these are the sort of key factors, okay? When Google first started, they invented a new way based around authority and trust and expertise through backlinks. I've always thought it's really clever. It's a really good way to do it because in real life, I could say, we've got Petter Amley here. Petter, great talk earlier. I would give a backlink to Petter. I would say, go to Petter if you want to learn about anything technical in Bubble. Petter's earned a backlink. I think the system is pretty smart, and it will remain a system that Google will use, okay? We've got relevance. We've got freshness, and more recently, the user experience. So this is where we can make a really, really big impact. So backlinks, okay? Just giving an example. These are links on other pages pointing back to your page. I call that SEO juice, getting that SEO juice from a higher authority. So when a higher authority gives you a backlink, a follow backlink, they're basically saying to Google, they're signaling that I trust this source. This is a good thing, okay? So what can you do about this? Let's just start off with the basics. What if you have some blog pages? Maybe it's about AI or whatever. What if you have a little copy icon on the blog link? What if people are wanting to publish content around what you've written about? Make it easy for them. Have a copy button, let them include excerpts or links back to your blog pages. That's what I do. People use it. You can do guest blogging. If you are an expertise in AI, you can go to Forbes, AI, someone writing about AI, and pitch an idea, a tool that you're building, or basically saying, I'm an expert in this particular niche in a niche, and you can earn yourself some good backlinks. But naturally, it's something that will build over time, and once you have that link, it starts to compound. All these links start to compound. So relevance, super, super important. You have to be able to provide answers and solutions for what people are searching for. Otherwise, what are you creating content for? Honestly, don't create content around, and this is also content to do with your SaaS product or your marketplace, but the content has to meet the expectations of user intent. So you need to do research. You have to understand what people are searching for. Google distinguishes, what has 3 different types of categories of search. One is informational, one is navigational, and the other one is transactional. So for instance, if someone's searching for best running shoes, well, they're going to send you to a review site. They're not going to send you to Nike.com and then expect you to make a purchase because you're in an informational state of mind. So this is talking about user intent now. What is the user intent? Do they want to buy from the search? I don't think they want to buy. They want to understand. They want more information. When it comes to navigational, this isn't a great one, but basically it's someone forgets or wants to go to a particular page in Bubble. Instead of trying to remember the URL, they just type in Bubble and then the name of the blog article or the particular page, Bubble security, right? That's navigational. Then, of course, transactional. This is the big one. This is someone who, from a user intent perspective, wants to buy shoes, and they will go to a site where they can actually buy their shoes. So you need to think about what your content is for. What's the purpose of the content? Okay. Freshness, if you are, I'll keep going back to AI, but if you are writing blog articles or promoting your own sort of AI SaaS tool, you probably want to keep your articles quite fresh because the industry is moving so quickly. Okay? This isn't relevant for everyone, but it is a factor to think about. Keep the content fresh if you want that content to be used, to be consumed, to be surfaced very high in rankings. The big one, user experience. And search engines will reward sites that offer a great user experience, including fast loading times and mobile optimization. And actually, they are now favoring your mobile pages more than your desktop pages. Mobile first, so we need to think about this. And you could use tools that we're going to talk about, like PageSpeed Insights and Lighthouse, to both assess page performance, page structure, and look at design and UX from the perspective of a crawler, right? A bot crawler. What do they see? This is important stuff. But quickly want to just address a question that I suspect I'm going to get after this talk. What is Bubble doing about page load speed? And Bubble is working on page load speed. It's a bit of a process, but without getting into too much technical detail, Bubble's looking at various technologies because we want page load speed to be world-class. That's going to take a bit of time, but the work has already started. Okay? We're going to start seeing fruits of the labor very soon. So I thought I'd just sort of quickly mention that because you can't, that needs to be addressed if we're talking about SEO. But anyway, so faster, more efficient apps from an SEO perspective. Let's talk about that. Let's dive into on-page and separate it out a bit. We'll do on-page and then we'll do the technical stuff. So keywords, we still have to do this, right? We still have to, Google is basically looking for authority and expertise. You have to enable Google to understand that you are an expert and you have authority and you are trustworthy. But more on the expertise side, pick some keywords or some keyword phrases, narrow it down, demonstrate that you're an expert in this field. We've got page titles, which we'll talk about in more detail, and we've got the rest here. Okay, page titles. We open the property editor, and we dynamically set our page title. Maybe we statically set it, doesn't matter. But they're pretty important, right? Because every day, many times a day, you're doing your Google search, and you're making decisions, probably mostly based on the page title. Your keyword needs to be in that page title. So yeah, that greatly affects both the search rank and the click-through rates. And click-through rates, Google's not going to keep showing your pages in search results if people aren't clicking through. They might try it, they might promote you and then demote you if that title isn't compelling. Meta descriptions. Although it doesn't affect SEO directly, indirectly it does, because obviously it gives you a preview of more. What else is this page about? And there's something very interesting that Google is doing around titles and meta descriptions that we're going to talk about in a second. I did these searches recently, so we have Bubble no code. Okay, that's probably more navigational. Have a look at the descriptions that have been returned. So this is the same URL's been returned, the same page title has been returned, but different descriptions. So the Bubble meta team, friends here in the audience, they would have set the description in the property editor, but hang on, we have a different description for Bubble IO development. This is where Google's getting super smart, because Google wants to match user intent. So what they're doing now, which blows my mind, is they're using AI to rewrite your titles if they think that they can get a click-through, and rewrite your descriptions. They might pull that from a H2 on your page. They might pull that from their open graph section, the social section further down the property editor. Things are getting super interesting. Like, Google wants you to win. Give them an opportunity to help you win. So header tags, which you enable in the settings area, you definitely want to enable this. You want control over this because header tags, they define the structure of your content. It improves readability and therefore SEO as well. And header tags matter for both humans and machines. For both your users, it provides hierarchy, and it just helps structure the page. It demonstrates what's important. Also lets Google know where your H1 is, right? Your header tag, basically. And that's really important because that describes what your page is about, okay? Another interesting one here. This I only learned a couple of years ago. Here's some low-hanging fruit for you all. If you have a high-ranking page, and this is what Google does. So Google doesn't rank your domain, although there is sort of a domain authority equation. They actually rank your pages. This is why blog pages do so well. Blog pages do really well because there's quite a lot of content. People want to learn. There's dwell time. They spend a bit more time on those pages. So Google deems that a good thing. What's interesting, though, is that if you can distribute authority to all of your pages, you can distribute SEO juice back to some pages. If you link to them, always link to them and use link elements, not buttons. Buttons are not recognized. They don't have the correct HTML structure to link pages together. Sometimes you need to navigate to a new page from a workflow at the end. That's absolutely fine. Just make sure that you have a footer, you have breadcrumbs, and you have navigation links on every page. Every page should link to every page. That is low-hanging fruit, and it's actually quite powerful, I've discovered. This is becoming like really, really important now. Because of AI, because of Google's new tooling, they can actually assess content quality. And this is how they can now rank smaller sites with higher quality content higher. Because they can now do this. They can now assess quality. And quality content doesn't necessarily just mean it's a well-written article, but it matches user intent, what people are searching for. Is it informational? Is it transactional? What is it? And they have an acronym called EAT, or EAT, and that stands for Expertise, Authority, and Trustworthiness. This is what they're assessing when they are deciding how to rank your content. Think about that: expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So let's summarize this. So we've got page titles, clickable headlines, mega important. I noticed the other day when I was just doing a bit of research that Google had changed. Well, they had adapted all of my blog titles, and they had just made them a little bit shorter and changed a few words. All of them. Fantastic. It's not to say I shouldn't do the work, because Google has crawl budget, which we'll get into. We don't want to spend too much crawl budget on them having to do this work. Header tags. Go find in the SEO section in the editor the little checkbox to enable H tags, and make sure you understand that. It's actually quite easy. It's actually quite easy to understand. We're going to talk about that soon. Okay, let's talk about the cool stuff. Guys, get your phones out. Let's do a quick, I just want to give you a very quick thing to do now. If you get your phone out, go to your app domain. So for me, it's buildcamp.io. So go to your main domain, /sitemap.xml. You can also go to bubble.io /sitemap.xml. So if you've heard about a sitemap file, it's really just a link. It's dynamically created by Bubble, managed by Bubble. There's nothing you need to do. Aside, you have to go to the Google Search Console and copy and paste your link, drop it into add new sitemap file, submit, job done, set and forget. And that will be dynamically updated by Bubble whenever you add either a new page or you have a slug in the database. Why is this useful? Because after all, Google crawls your site, don't they? Yes, they do. But they don't just have one mechanism. What you're doing here is you're enhancing Google's ability to crawl and index your site. You're taking the preemptive step, you're doing a lot of the work for them, you're signaling to them that, hey, I'm new on the scene, please come index my site when you get a chance. And by the way, here's the structure, use less crawl budget. The other nice thing about this is I get emails occasionally from Google saying, Greg, there's a problem on this particular page. All right? So indexing issues that you might face depending on the complexity. And guys, I should have made this distinction very early on. Google cannot log into your app. We're talking about public-facing pages only. Thought I'd mention that. All right, technical SEO, so core web vitals, right? We spoke about the elephant in the room, but this is much more than that. You can use page speed insights to get feedback on performance of particular pages. And you can use Lighthouse, which is my favorite because it includes a lot more information. Google Lighthouse will tell you what's wrong with your page and how to fix it. You just have to do the work. And there is no reason why you cannot score 100% on accessibility, best practices, and SEO. There's actually no reason why you can't do it. That's nothing to do with Bubble. That is a developer technique. And performance we're working on. This one's pretty important, and this is to do with the crawl budget and the user experience, right? Someone lands on a broken link or navigates to a broken link. Do they press back or do they lose interest? You want to keep your users in your site as much as possible. And if you've heard about bounces or you've seen you use an analytics tool and you see a bounce rate 60%, 70%, 80%, a bounce rate is basically when someone doesn't click any other link on your site. So they just read a blog article and leave. So what Google thinks is, they read a blog article and then they left. Maybe the site's not that interesting. Maybe it doesn't have any good follow-on content. So be strategic about where you put links. Make sure that a user can always click somewhere else because then it won't count as a bounce. But there is also dwell time, like I talked about. There are many, many ranking factors. But fix the broken link in your site. And if you do use Search Console, whenever Google does a crawl, they will let you know if you've got a broken link. I use Ahrefs. Quite expensive, but worth it if you think about the amount of traffic and business you can get if you understand on-page SEO and technical SEO. That can really help you with that. So sitemap. I hope all of you guys understand sitemaps now. So easy, so much upside. Submit your sitemap file. Start understanding how that process works and the benefits. Core Web Vitals, very, very important. Google Lighthouse will assess your page for you. They'll tell you what's wrong with your page, how to fix your page. I'm just going to go back to a slide that I glazed over earlier, because if we talk about sort of low-hanging fruit, so minimum amount of effort, massive upside. It's images, right? It's images. So here are two images. This came from a PNG file. It was 2 megabytes in size. I compressed that image to WebP, got it down to 500 kilobytes. But from the 2 megabyte PNG down to AVIF, a new compression standard, 30 kilobytes, performance goes straight up. So don't glaze over this stuff. Obviously, if it's user-generated content, slightly more difficult, but put user-generated content a little bit further down if you can. If you have control over your images, make sure it's AVIF compression standard. It's insane how just this one change gives you so much performance upside. Fun facts. 75% of people never scroll past the first page. Don't know what it is for how many results they'll scroll past, but I'm pretty sure that you want to be in the top 3. All right? Why scroll past the top 3? 3 is great. 3 options, perfect. The algorithm is growing and growing, 200 factors or more. No one really knows how many factors, but it's growing, and the emphasis is shifting towards the user experience. Last one blew my mind. 53x more likely to rank on the first page if you have a video, because having a video increases dwell time. Pretty powerful stuff. That's something I need to do straight away as well. Thanks, guys.